Welcome to the Canadian Business Quarterly podcast, where we speak with Canada's most influential industry leaders on the business and economic development issues taking place across the country. You can stay up to date with all of our content, including our publications, newsletters, and podcasts by visiting www.thecbq.ca and clicking on subscribe.
Today's guest is Bill Barrable, CEO of Praxis Spinal Institute, a not-for-profit focused on creating solutions for people with spinal cord injuries. The Institute has been recognized as a top-rated charity by both Maclean's and Money Sense in 2019 and 2020 and is accredited by Imagine Canada. Bill himself has previously been named as one of Canada's top 40 under 40. Bill, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, tell us about the background of Praxis Spinal Institute.
With pleasure. Praxis is an ancient Greek word, and its definition is the process by which a theory, lesson, or skill is implemented. And that's what we do. We take knowledge and get it into action. We were created back in 2007. Our previous name, people might know us as the Rick Hansen Institute. We rebranded. But the Institute is still a legacy of Canadian icon and Paralympian Rick Hansen. We continue that vision of a world without paralysis after spinal cord injury under this new name. So we focus on accelerating research and innovation in spinal cord injury to cure and care and its implementation. This includes the commercialization of new products and services into practical solutions for people with spinal cord injury. And we don't just do one of those things, which typically organizations do, but we do all three. And we do it by involving people with spinal cord injury at every step of the way.
The organization's based in Vancouver, but you do work around all over the world. Tell us about that.
Yes, we're a global institute. Began in BC, became pan-Canadian, and now work internationally. One of the reasons for that is that it allows us to work together with scientists, innovators, and clinicians from around the world around projects to improve the quality of health and life of people with SCI. So in fact, we have projects that include participants from over 30 countries around the world. And we have data research partners in Australia, Israel, United States, New Zealand, China. And we also have bioengineering partnerships in universities in Israel, Canada, India, and the United States. This gives us significant ability to leverage those international minds and the resources and accelerate the innovation to get it into a practical use much faster. It also allows us to reach into a much larger pool of patients worldwide for clinical trials so that the enrollment in new studies can occur in a very timely fashion. This is one of the challenges we face. And of course, Vancouver is a tremendous location because we're plugged into the Pacific Rim, close to great universities in California, Washington, and Australia, and across the Pacific Rim.
I was going to ask you if there are any other advantages. I mean, you're quite close to the universities. Are there any other benefits about being based out west?
Yeah, I think lots of them. Apart from the outstanding universities, the geographical location allows us, as the world evolves, and with an interconnected world, you don't always need to be in the same place at the same time. For example, our board is made up of people from several different countries, including Israel, Australia, United States, and Canada. And when we have a board meeting, there are 5 different time zones. So, there's opportunity for us to work in a more productive way and to take advantage of some outstanding leadership and expertise we have in Vancouver that doesn't exist anywhere.
A lot of money is required to help an organization like yours. Most of us don't know the intricacies of that. Can you talk to us about the corporate support and other forms of funding you depend on to do your work?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're first of all, we're very fortunate to have the generous support of the federal government through the Western Economic Diversification and provinces like British Columbia and Ontario as well. The financial support from the corporate side, from the private sector too, plays an increasingly important role as we've expanded into commercialization programs. And these have been started because we have a need to address the critical shortage in readily available technology to serve people with spinal cord injury. we've created incubate and accelerate programs, which depend on, these are for early stage companies, I should clarify. Incubate really at a very early stage, accelerate when you're trying to grow. And they depend on industry mentorship and financial support. They need additional funding that can't be offered by the taxpayer necessarily, by government sources, but need to come from the private sector, and also in-kind support that comes in the form of mentorship and advice that is critical to their success. So, corporate support to the commercialization program is essential.
My introduction had acknowledged Praxis as a top-rated charity. I assume part of this is ensuring the vast majority of donations are delivered to on-the-ground services. Can you tell us about the mechanism for how you use donations?
Sure. One of the overarching principles we follow is a model we developed a few years ago, which we call the Praxis model, based on the literal definition of that ancient Greek word. And it starts by identifying the priorities that people living with spinal cord injury have, and engaging them all the way to the delivery of the innovation and the care. We refer to them as consumers because they're consuming those services, people with spinal cord injury. So we consider ourselves a leader in the development of a consumer program, and not only those with spinal cord injury, but their family and their care providers. These are essential elements to ensuring that the priorities that we set in terms of research and commercialization and changes within the healthcare system that may involve new techniques, new technologies, new processes of care, and standards in the hospital system, that they reflect the needs of people who have the condition. And in so doing, we ensure relevancy and that it's going to have a significant impact on their health and their life later on. So this approach, has not only changed how we work, but also the conversations of our partners, in how we organize and execute the entire continuum of translation of research to the long-term care, long-term quality of life outcomes. We identify potential partners as well, and we're receiving inputs to this approach within our programs right across the organization.
Fair enough. And in a more general sense, how have we advanced in dealing with spinal injury?
Spinal cord injuries and the conditions, the paralysis and the almost 36 secondary complications that people are increasingly vulnerable to if they have the paralysis. This is one of the most difficult human conditions to be challenged by. And it's one of the most difficult medical problems for us to solve in our world. Over the past 25 years, we've made significant progress in terms of the scientific and medical research communities. Most of the knowledge that's been gained in this area has been gained over the last decade, as knowledge and the development of knowledge accelerates with improved computer technology. This it has meant that the changes in the processes of care, earlier time to decompression surgery, earlier and more aggressive and more sophisticated forms of rehabilitation that begin very early after an injury, have meant improvements in paralysis rates. So we've been able to reduce those and reduce to some extent the secondary complications that can follow. So we aim to minimize the damage to the spinal cord, improve the physical function of the individual, and reduce long-term healthcare costs by reducing readmissions from things like secondary complications. The research that we do is key to this. And as we move forward, we know that not only is it the spinal cord injury have a tremendous human cost, it also has huge economic and financial implications for the person with spinal cord injury, their family, and general society. So this is a big challenge. We've made great progress, but we've got a lot of work yet to do.
Mm. And beyond, monetary funding, what are the challenges that you face in undertaking the work of the organization?
Well, one of the challenges, and it's not just unique to spinal cord injury, but research discoveries and innovations traditionally require a period on average of about 17 years before they reach their potential to impact quality of health and life. and long-term outcomes. That's a long time. We aim to shorten that. And one of the challenges is enrollment in research studies. There are other hurdles like we refer to in our praxis model as the valleys of death. The obstacles between getting something from the bench, meaning in the laboratory, to the bedside. In other words, getting that a clinical study done so that you can determine efficacy and, does this work? And then the secondary valleys of death from the bedside, after it's been proven concept, to worldwide, where you take something and you develop it out and you try to scale it so that it can actually influence and improve the lives of a lot more people. These are two of the key components that we need to overcome in our praxis model and strategies we've developed with that. So key to that, of course, is collaboration, providing the right incentives where researchers and entrepreneurs are working directly together, particularly with people who have spinal cord injury. Get them involved in the research at the very beginning. Get them involved not only as subjects, but at the ideation phase. That is to say, in the vision for this research, what is it going to achieve? How is it going to impact on them? How is it going to improve their health? And then later on in the testing of the products and the development of standards for hospitals, in the way we treat each other, how people with spinal cord injury are treated within the health system, and also later on in the community. I mean, you can do everything right at the acute and rehabilitation stage, but if you don't have the right supports and can continue the rehabilitation in the community, you lose some of those benefits. So it's a team game, and there's a continuum that runs right from the time of injury, right through to someone's life in the community.
There's a lot of things in there on what you're saying. Where do you think the organization delivers its most meaningful work?
Yeah, I think, quite honestly, we could talk about all the exciting research and the incredible ideas that are developed and commercialized. But I think at the nut of it, I think the greatest and most meaningful part of our work is the engagement of the consumers. That is the people with spinal cord injury. Because if we do that early and we do it well and we do it consistently, it will elicit much improved outcome for them in their health and their well-being. So, this is something that people and organizations talk about, but they don't necessarily do it with consistency. And this is something that we are really striving for because we know it makes a difference. In the past, studies have been supported in the long-term past that all look great methodologically and in terms of peer review, but unless they have relevancy to people with spinal cord injury, they are not going to make a difference. That is where this is so critical. And we've included them in our commercialization programs, the Incubate and the Accelerate programs, in addition to the research itself. So this is central to our success.
And what message would you like to send to corporates who have budgets for charitable and not-for-profit aims?
We would say to them that lots of organizations focus on research, others focus on innovation, even some focus on implementation. But you know what? We do all three, and the implementation piece is key, and it's often forgotten or not adequately resourced in order to ensure that the ideas get into use. As far as we know, we're the only one doing all three. So you're getting an organization that's taking responsibility for an outcome, not just for inputs or outputs, but also an outcome. And what does that achieve? One of the we have our Accelerate and Incubate programs. One of the new cohort in the Incubate program is a company by the name of Spiderwork. It's a biotechnology, Canadian one, revolutionizing tissue engineering and regenerative medicine with its what's called the cellulose-based biomaterials. Their technology promotes the repair and regeneration of the spinal cord. They've just received, I think, as of today, actually, special approval by the FDA as a breakthrough technology. These biomaterials are showing real promise, and it's by defining an ecosystem, creating an ecosystem for these companies, and they're part of our Incubate program, that we can get these things out get them directly involved with people with spinal cord injury so that we enhance their likelihood of success. And we know that at the end of the commercialization process, there will be a customer, and this technology will be available to people who can really benefit from it.
And before we finish up for today, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I just would also add that we've added staff and volunteers to our program that also add to this important involvement of people with SCI. Richard Peter, for example, who is our Indigenous Peoples Liaison at the Institute, he connects researchers to people living with SCI in First Nations communities. And Richard came to Praxis as a person with a spinal cord injury and a gold medal Paralympian. Outstanding individual, and will continue to do great things with the Institute. As well, one of our new board members is Senator Chantal Petitclerc, who many will know as an internationally renowned Paralympian athlete and gold medalist. And she joined the Institute's board of directors this year as well. These are individuals that help to enhance our team, and they will be helping by teaching us as well new things that we need to learn, and influencing the great work that the Institute does.
Excellent. Well, Bill, thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you.
This has been a production of the Canadian Business Quarterly, a division of Romulus Rising Proprietary Limited. All rights reserved. You can stay up to date with the Canadian Business Quarterly, including our publications, newsletters, and podcasts by visiting www.thecbq.ca and clicking on subscribe.